Okay, so that recording is started. So what's up, YouTube? We've set up the stream, so we're streaming. So news is we have a website, North Masters, right here. You can skip ahead if you're watching on YouTube. Um, so what the situation is, we have a website. So all of the course stuff that we cover. So we're doing this topic today. You can click go, and then you'll see the video tutorial, written tutorial, and then a full code situation or environment where you could even run all the code that we wrote in the tutorial. So that is the plan for today. So now let's quickly look at what we're going to be doing today. So we're covering math operators. So we're going to do math operations plus minus and look at the math library. So before we start, let's just quickly start looking at the math library and see what's up. So here's the math library. I'll leave this link in the description. So here's all the functions. It's really nice, readable, and we're gonna test out and use some of these today. So today, the way I'm gonna do this tutorial, you're still gonna get the code on the website and everything the way you would usually, but we're gonna be coding in this environment because I think it'll be easier. So let's just start off by importing math. So the way I did this, I went into my Linux shell, just typed in Python 3. If you have Anaconda, the way I showed how to install on my channel, you just type in Python. Okay, so let's get started. So let's say you have a variable called A, and it's 3. Let's say you have a variable called B, and it's 3. And you do print A plus B, 6, right? Nice and easy. So, yeah, that's where we're at so far. And then we can also do division. So if you have A, print A divided by B, you'll get 1.0. I'll explain why it returns a float, because if you do print type A divided by B, it returns a float. And then you could do print A times B, and you could also do print A minus B. So that's good. We covered the basic math operators. Let's check that off on our list. That was super easy. Okay, so let's go through the next part, which is powers. So there's a few ways you can do powers in Python. Oh, first I should explain why this returned a float. So this returned a float because you're doing division. So anytime you're doing division, because there can be decimal numbers, it's going to return a float. So another thing to note is, let's say I switch A to 3.0, so made it a float, and I did print A plus B. You can see it also returns a float. So if you have one float, one integer, it returns a float, because floats require more memory. So that's really important to remember. So the next thing is, let us do powers. So we already imported math above. For those who haven't, just import math. Really simple stuff. Let me just check if my sound's good. Should be good. Okay, so you import math, all good. So how we do this is, as I showed in the Python docs, so there's a few ways to do powers in Python. So let's say you had a variable called A, and let's make it equal to 4 this time. If we do print A star star 2, that means A to the power of 2. The same way, you can do A to the power of 3, 64, and so on. So that's really how you can do powers without importing math. You don't need to import the math library. And if you guys taken some sort of math, low-level math, you can also start to realize that you could do the same thing for square roots. So roots are just 1 over the number. So the second root, or square root, is just to the power of 1 over 2. So you can just do a to the power of 1/2, and that will just completely work. You literally don't need the math library. That's a third root, and you could go through that whole process just like this. But the math library, a little bit more readable, and well, for powers, as I've established, you don't really need it, but it's nice to know. So how this is going to work, the math library, you'll notice, as I'm about to show you, if you wanted to do, let's just type this out. Okay, few things to notice. Number one, math is calling the math library, .pow is calling the power method, and using the base and then the exponent. Okay, cool. And you'll notice we have a 0.0. Math library does operations with floats. So it's going to return you a float. Don't believe me? We'll print out the type and it will be a float. Float. So that, okay, is that. Now you'll notice that over here we have you can do also square roots over here. Am I still up? Yeah, we're still in. We're still in. So you can also do square roots. Same thing. Okay. But Python does have a square root functionality, so square root equals math. So call the math library and it's sqrt, and you just pass in what you want to find the square root of. And then if we print, I spelled square wrong. Square root, you'll see 2.0. All right, so that's pretty much powers and some of the math library. So we've gone through square and square root, and for our last little bit, we are going to do we're gonna do floors. So floors are really useful, and random is also really useful, and I'm gonna show you guys how exactly that works. So let me just check chat in case anything's there. I don't see anything. It's all good. So let's continue. So floor and ceiling is basically rounding up or down. So for example, let's say I have a float. Let's say I have a random float. Let's just say my number equals 3.35. 3.5. So let's say I want to floor it, so always round down. So my floored, so this is really useful when you want to do some type of approximations where you don't want to make sure that you don't overshoot. So math.floor, and then you write your number, and then we'll print out my floored 3. Okay, so notice returns an integer. We'll go through the docs together and figure out what will happen. So now print, sorry, not print. Now let's do my seal equals math.seal my num, print my seal, and notice also in. So this one rounds up always and this one rounds down. So even if I changed my num to 3.7, the results should be the same. Print my floor 3, and then seal, you guys can try it. I guarantee you it's the same. So that's floor and seal. So let's check that off as well. We didn't add, you know what, let's just do seal. So these are just useful functionalities that you should probably know as they're useful, like I just said. So what else? Yes, random. So first you have to import the random library. Cool. So we have random imported. So random has a few functionalities. So let's pull up the docs and go through them together. So okay, so let me switch my screen to over here. So random, I think this is the right page. So over here, so you should have random. You have a bunch of choices for random, like shuffle. You can shuffle stuff, sample. So I think this samples a unique number of elements. You can read this. Um, but things that are of our useful to us are random.random, and I think we have rand int right here. So it can tell you random int. It can return a random integer between a and b, and you can see the docs here. So let's do that quickly. So let's switch to our beautiful Python environment, and let's do this. So let's just do quickly a random.random. So if I print a, you can see number between 0 and 1. Beautiful. And then let's say I had a while loop. Let's see if I can do a while loop here. And I'm going to try to create a something that can create, return a whole infinite loop of random ints. So print random.rand int. And sorry, I'm just looking at the chat. Random.randint, and let's do between 3 and 10. And you can see it's returning random integers between 3 and 10. So to stop it, I'll just press Control C, keyboard interrupt. And that's pretty much it for this stream/video. I hope you guys enjoyed. It was a little bit of a long one, first time streaming, 16 minutes, but it's all good.